Hey there guys and girls, it's Seras here from Addict Gaming, and today I'll be talking about my thoughts on the Ranger changes that took place on the September 9th feature patch. The Ranger, as most of you would know by now, received some incredible buffs. The most notable, I feel though, are the changes to Rapid Fire and the Signets. In times past, Rapid Fire had a long cast time and you did less damage than auto attacking at max range, which led it to be only being used for when the enemy closed in or to keep track of a thief when he was low, and as it would continue to fire at them even though they were stealth due to it being a channeled skill. It was also very hard to avoid and reflect all the damage of the skill due to its long cast time as well. After the September 9th patch, however, Rapid Fire had its cast time halved, making it a very nice burst of damage, but also making it more dodgeable and easy to reflect the entire thing back at the Ranger. The skill itself is now superior to the Warrior's equivalent skill, Volley, on the rifle for the Warrior, in pretty much every way, as it has more total damage, and it also inflicts 10 stacks of vulnerability to the target, and you can trade it for additional range too. The only downside to it is due to its high hit count of 10 shots, it does proc a lot of retaliation back compared to Volley, which only fires 5 shots. I feel that Rapid Fire is now in a great place for the Longbow, providing it with some actual burst, with an actual burst option with only needing a slight change to it, either reducing or removing the vulnerability or just a slight damage shave on it so that it's not too strong, as we do have the pet as well, so we're doing quite a bit of damage with these in combination. Some more of the Longbow's other skills and traits too have received some buffs as well, which I feel has made the Longbow a very strong weapon indeed. The 10% haste buff to read the wind, along with the lower cast time and barrage, and the higher damage for the close-in ranges of the Longbow long range shot, has definitely become something that I've enjoyed playing with since the patch came in. Overall, for the Longbow, there have been like a plethora of buffs, and it has been super enjoyable to use. I feel, however, that we should probably make the most of it while we can, as it's likely to receive some shaves in strength in the future, which kind of sucks, but hey, it'll be maybe 4 to 6 months from now when the next feature patch comes in, so we got plenty of time to enjoy it. The Grandmaster trait Signet of the Beastmaster was removed, which is actually a change that I've been looking forward to for quite some time now, and I've discussed it among my friends quite a bit. Basically, before, Signets required you to get a Grandmaster trait in order for yourself to receive the active effects that the Signets provided to your pets. In essence, you're pretty much pigeonholed if you wanted to incorporate the active effects of the Signets into your build, as you had to spend 30 points into marksmanship, or 6 points these days. Back in the day it was 30. And you also had to use a Grandmaster slot specifically for it, which I felt was way too much of a sacrifice for something that should have been default. The inclusion of the Read the Wind Grandmaster trait also exacerbated this issue, as you could not take the Signet of the Beastmaster and Read the Wind due to them being both Grandmaster traits. Now the effect that this change has had is that we have been flat out given the Signet active effects without any reduction to them whatsoever, which has made them insanely strong now. Take for instance Signet of the Wild. Its active effect gives you 25% extra damage, stability, and a 50% move speed increase for 8 seconds on a 48-second cooldown, making it an extremely powerful utility to select. Because the Signets no longer require a trait, the extra power that was given to them before, because they had required a trait to get it, is most likely to receive a decrease in power, but I feel that's warranted, as they're pretty damn strong right now. Overall, I absolutely love the power in both defense and offense that this change has brought to the Ranger, as it opens up Signets to be used in other kinds of builds instead of just being tied to 2 specific builds. The change ties into a buff for the trait enlargement as well for the Ranger, making it so that you don't have to go 6-0-0-4-0 in order to use the trait effectively, which means that it's a lot easier to fit the trait into a build, making it a pretty cool trait, as it'll help you get your heal off when you're low HP, because it'll auto procs when you drop below 25%, and you get the auto stability from the Signet of Wild from it. One of the other major changes I'd like to talk about is the change to Entangle. Entangle used to have a very long cooldown, and it applied like a 20-second immobilize on you through this little root that it would put on the ground that would keep pulsing and applying immobilize and bleed to you. When you first think about it, it was pretty strong, as 20 seconds of immobilize is pretty much I-win, but that was really only the case when you're fighting a target that wasn't able to break out of the Entangle by destroying it, or one that could just free itself using a condition cleanse. This meant that its reusability in battle wasn't all that great too, as the cooldown was so high. With the cooldown being reduced to 60 seconds, however, we can make use of it far more often than before, with just the small caveat of its duration being reduced down to 5 seconds, which itself is actually more than enough to make a very good use out of it. This makes it so that you can use it more freely in a fight, like all your other utilities, as you don't have to be concerned about if it's going to be up in the next team fight, as it's generally a small enough time for the enemies to, regroup and engage you and stuff. You'll have it back up in time. Another side effect of its reduced cooldown is that we can use it in combination with Survival of the Fittest, which, because it's a survival skill, means that we get additional fury from it and conditional removal more often too, which in turn is that strengthens that trait as well, and it makes the elite pretty cool as well. I know I'll be using Entangle more myself over the Spirit or Rampage as Rampage is one, just because the increased reusability of Entangle and the fact that we now have an easy access to form of stability outside of Rampage through the use of the Signet of the Wild. One final note that I'd like to mention is that the lowered cooldown also allows us to take a closer look at some of the ruin sets that we would have previously overlooked in days past, as our elites had a high cooldown to make use of them, so you couldn't really take advantage of things like Ruins of the Sunless, which have an AoE effect attached to them, which would be pretty cool to use in combination with Entangle, as you're creating sort of a pseudo-stun through the mixture of Fear and Immobilize, which is pretty badass. Now, the Ranger Greatsword also received some much needed buffs, which is pretty exciting, as for a long time now I've been waiting for the Ranger to have an alternative to the finicky at the best of times one-handed sword, with its really chunky auto attack, the one that you can't really dodge while you're doing its attacks, which is very annoying. The increase in damage to the last hit in the auto attack chain was pretty good, as it wasn't really hitting that hard before, so you kind of had to go for the sword, but now it's doing a bit more, so it feels more worth it. And they made Swoop have an evade, which is pretty cool, as not only does it fit into the Ranger's melee theme of having heaps of evades, it also makes it even better when you're trying to make an escape, as you're evading hits while leaping away, allowing you to disengage and re-engage with a shorter recovery time that's less time healing up when you're out of combat. Another one of the really strong changes they made to the Greatsword was the increase in stun duration to Hilt Bash. It basically, if you've got the Moment of Clarity trait, the Grandmaster in Skirmishing, you get a 3-second stun instead of a 1.5 now.
You control
and
the gate.
You can follow that up with the plus 50% damage maul, pretty much giving you access to the old Warriors Skullcrack 100 Blades combo on the one weapon, which hits pretty hard and it's pretty damn good. Absolutely love using that combo, as people they don't expect it from the Ranger. I actually had one guy complain that the Ranger had access to too many stuns, as you're saying he was stun locked in an entire fight, which is quite funny.
Tranquility has
you really only have the one stun. Well, I suppose you can count point blank shot as a stun as well, but yeah, it actually seems that skill actually seems to lock players into the knockback animation when you hit him. So it's like a small 1-second stun. The change to maul itself was pretty cool as well, as it's now easier to land, as they gave it a larger attack radius, and you can hit up to 5 targets with it now instead of 3, which is very nice. Gives you some more AoE capabilities. I actually do like this change quite a lot, as before it was actually pretty hard to land maul on someone who wasn't soft or hard CC'd. Overall, the changes to the Greatsword were definitely needed, and I don't think that they will be affected by any nerfs to the Ranger in the future, as it was just mainly bringing the weapon up to the level of what your other weapons could offer. And it's definitely in a great place now that the hybridness of the weapon has been removed. They removed the useless bleed from it and made it just a nice power, damage and evade weapon, which is pretty good. Now, the last changes I would like to discuss are about some of the changes to the Axe and Beastmaster traits. These changes appear to have slipped by most people, as the changes to the Signets and the Longbow were actually so good, and they also helped fulfill the role that most people wanted from the Ranger, that they pretty much overshadowed the changes to the Axe and the Beastmaster trait lines. The changes to the Axe and Beastmaster traits I feel are actually very strong, and have actually been some of the points I've talked about with Bird when talking about the Ranger. We actually kind of feel creeped out sometimes. There's a lot of the stuff we talk about that should happen or what we want to happen have actually happened, which is really creepy. We actually jokingly say sometimes that Arena taps our conversations. Yeah, so anyway, the axe being a hybrid weapon has suffered from having an almost useless auto attack in a Condi build and a useless number 2 skill in a power build. But with the current modification to its auto attack, it has created some very good potential for a Celestial type hybrid build. What they have done is change the axe auto attack to grant might per hit, so it's actually really strong now. If you combine this with Companion's Might and the nature traits that give your pet might when you are granted might as well, you can give your pet up to 2 stacks of might per bounce, with a total of up to 6 if you get all 3 bounces, which allows you to rapidly reach the cap on might stacks for your pet pretty fast. The additional might for yourself from the axe is a very nice addition, as you can now bolster both your auto attack damage and your Condi damage from the weapon, and using this in combination with Celestial stats allow you to have an all-round very strong weapon set and build, as you've got the high damage from power and Condi, and you've got decent survivability as well from your traits. The Beastmaster traits around the master area, I think they received a massive overhaul to allow you to use them with any pet species instead of just the species specific ones like felines are granted bleed on their auto attack. Now they're all non-specific to species, which is really great. This is one of the things I've been waiting for a long time for the Ranger. I've always felt that the Beastmaster line was very weak due to the exclusivity of some of its traits. Now with the combination of both strong pet traits and rapid might stacking with a non-gimped axe for the player and the pet, I feel that we should also in time see a resurgence of Beastmaster Rangers along with the quintessential Longbow Ranger on top of that also, with some room for experimentation and seeing how the different pet combinations work in tune with the now non-restrictive pet enhancement traits in the Beastmaster line. In summary, we've seen some very nice increases to the Ranger in the areas which have been previously neglected, and we can now see some real growth towards non-Spirit Ranger builds, which is pretty cool, as a Spirit Ranger has never really been something that I felt was very fun to play at all. It's pretty passive, you just summon your spirits and pretty much auto attack through most of it. Now we can make some cool Beastmaster builds and some good heavy power builds as well, and a lot of the conflicting traits have been resolved, which was definitely one of the major factors that was holding back the Ranger from performing to an equal level with the other classes. I feel the Ranger still has some issues regarding how it handles traps, so hopefully these can be brought into line as well with the rest of the Ranger skills, as I didn't mind playing a Trap Ranger in PvP as well. That was actually pretty fun. I'm super happy with the changes to the Ranger and I'm really enjoying it so far. My head at the moment is actually overflowing with ideas for the Ranger alone, so expect quite a few Ranger builds coming in the near future to our channel. Rangers are most likely, though, in the future going to be tweaked down a bit, but from the rate that ArenaNet's patching the game at the moment, there's going to be quite a few months until the next feature patch, so we can enjoy the Rangers for quite a bit until then, because at the moment they're just ridiculously fun. That there basically is my take on the Ranger, which I've put a little bit of thought into to make sure I'm not spouting off just some complete nonsense, which I do sometimes. Anyway, if you're concerned or wanting to know about a class that isn't the Ranger, don't worry about it. We'll be covering these with more videos to come. I'll be covering myself, the Warrior, Mesmer, and Elementalist, with both a list of changes and some more in-depth videos like this one here about the changes, which will have my opinions and stuff and my thoughts about what it leads to and potential situations for those classes as well. If you enjoyed this video, please like, favorite, and subscribe by clicking the subscribe button down below. If you have your own opinions or comments about how the Ranger changes went in this patch, please feel free to drop the comments down below. If you have a Ranger yourself, I do hope you're enjoying it right now, as I am myself. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.